You're such an asshole.
Hey everybody, the old captain, assholeconsulting.com. Go there if you got questions. Marine writes, hello Aaron, I'm a former U.S. Marine and a current pipe fitter who belongs to, we'll just say the local something pipe fitters. I don't want to identify. You belong to the Pipe Fitters Union. I'm a libertarian, right-wing kind of guy who believes in hard work and learning hard skills, as opposed to going to college and doing some bullshit HR and government jobs that really don't need to exist. See there, this is a real man. This is how America was built. This is a real guy. Like, you take a millennial and you multiply it times a -1, you get this guy. My request entails explaining the difference between public and private sector unions, because I think a lot of people on the right believe that unions are bad by default. Private labor/construction trade unions do not take public money and directly compete with non-union companies while bidding on projects. As someone who hates government intervention in the free market, I don't think that a group of skilled tradesmen negotiating with mechanical contractors for good pay without using government forces against the concept of a free market. Government unions, on the other hand, take taxpayer money for every deal and every compromise. They make unions as a concept look bad to libertarians and right-wingers. I would appreciate perspective on the matter. And we will keep you... Yeah, dude, you are absolutely 100% correct. And I would say, now I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to guess I'm just a little bit older than you. I do remember the problem with the unions... the private sector ones is that they still would go with the, yeah man, bring down the corporations, and they would become anti-capitalistic in that regard. Now things have changed, especially with the election of Trump, when you guys kind of realized that Hillary was more concerned about whether or not you had a hole between your legs than whether you guys are actually doing real work. Not to mention, I think you guys are getting sick and tired of looking at these pussy fucking millennials and Gen Xers go to college, get their master's degrees in some fucking bullshit studies, and then they go and they start demanding safe spaces and 41 flavors of gender, and then they start getting in the way of things like the pipelines and the oil industry and their personal little, you can't call it political ideology, but their religion of basically work avoidance. I mean, no matter how complicated they make it, work avoidance, and then going for the environment, and oh my god, I'm gonna do that, and they're just so much more intelligent than you, and I think the condescending attitude they had to you, I think you guys woke up a little. Oh, and then shutting down the coal mines, so we could have natural gas. I think that woke people up in Pennsylvania and Michigan and all that. So, there is definitely a difference ideologically between, I shouldn't say ideologically, functionally, between your private sector union guys who actually work and produce real fucking shit versus we could say basically not trades, the government unions who are largely not producing anything of value. They are, and largely derived from, employed and staffed by, increasingly so, these academians who just don't work real jobs. They just do not work real jobs. And I'd imagine you guys you're starting to wake up and get pissed where it's like, hey, wait a minute. All you did was sit in a fucking air-conditioned office to get your master's in women's studies, and now you're the assistant vice reserve break glassy case of emergency diversity director at a college or university, getting paid $200,000 a year, ripping on people like me to saying people like me have discrimination or privilege because we simply have a penis. So, yeah, absolutely. So there's many reasons to like your private sector unions versus your government unions, because these guys actually produce something of value for society. These people don't. These guys work real hard jobs. These guys never did. These guys' skills and labor are actually in demand. Who likes roads? Anyone like roads? You like roads? Hey, who likes heat in their house? You like heat in your house? Who likes plumbing? Anyone here like plumbing? You guys like plumbing too? Cool. Who likes vice reserve assistant deputy directors of assistant diversity counselor people telling college students that all accusations of rape are real and they get paid 3 or 4 times the amount that someone who's working a coal mine does? So I think that is one very compelling argument why you should in general be for the private sector unions, your carpenters, your pipe fitters, your steel workers and stuff like that, and not that. But then the economic argument that you alluded to here before against public sector unions is that they basically then have a monopoly on that labor. And whereas in the private sector, unions have to compete with private contractors. You don't have to join the union. Some places you, but you don't have to join the union. There's still an element of competition, all right? So that keeps prices down. But then when you have spoiled little brat office workers with their masters of fucking poetry studies unionizing, and you have the SEIU, AFSCME, isn't there a third one? Oh, it doesn't matter. When you unionize government labor, that's not a monopoly that is in direct interest of the taxpayer. So there's no competition anymore working there. So it's just like, oh my gosh, we should just give ourselves it almost not, it's kind of analogous to Congress or the state legislature giving themselves raises. Right? Because typically the government is headed up by leftists and pro-larger government. They're also pro-labor, but especially their own labor. So they will always, this is why you look at public sector pay, it's anywhere between, 20 to even 60% higher than the private sector counterpart. And that's not a good deal for the taxpayers, because that's what we consume from that particular labor provides us government services. So also we're paying 50 to 60% more for labor that if we just allowed competition to exist, it would be much lower. But yeah, I would, so there's that economic argument against unionizing government labor. But I think one that especially has become more pronounced, especially with these fucking pussies, especially in academia, generating these fake intellectual, we're so smarter than you. We have master's degrees. The condescending, you looked at every article, you see it in journalism too. Maybe you guys are waking up even more. Did you notice how journalism majors that wrote for CNN who were covering this election, they did the analysis of the election saying, people without college educations, those troglodytes voted for Trump, but people with 6 or more years of education voted for Hillary. It's like, yeah, but in what? Stick your dick in a pencil sharpener studies? What the fuck did you study? And to be condescending to think that, to think that a doctorate in English or philosophy is somehow better than someone who's got his electrician apprenticeship under his belt, or any one of these people who are doing a real fucking job, who actually got out when they were 18, 19, 20 and actually hit the fucking real world and have contributed way more to society than this fucking parasite living in academia all their lives off of government grants and tuition assistance, getting her fucking doctorate in English. That pisses me off, and I'm not even in the fucking union. So yes, you absolutely are right. I think that people on the right, people libertarian, people conservative, who may have, from my days in the 80s, where the unions were like, yeah, screw the corporation. Well, a lot of those guys are dead now. A lot of those industries have gone away. I remember in Milwaukee, it was Harley Davidson and Briggs and Stratton. They were like, oh yeah, and it's like, dude. And this is what happened. Maybe here's another little interesting how times have changed so much. It was so bad with the unions that, you'd say, well, why did Detroit go to pot? Well, because they could go to Tennessee, where it's not unionized. Or, all of a sudden NAFTA comes along, and then I think it was Clinton, a Democrat, by the way, who opened up trade with China, and it's like, well, there goes our manufacturing base, and now you guys ain't got a job because you got too greedy. You started demanding, what was it? GM had a room, maybe it still has a room, where if they didn't have demand, you just went and sat in this room and you still got paid. Okay, there's a little bit of greediness and laziness and sloth. So that's the stuff we saw back in the 80s and the 90s. Then came in international competition, wiped the fucking shit out of that. And now you have your traditional tradesmen and unions and carpenters and plumbers, things that can't just be outsourced. They have to be done here. I think that hubris and arrogance not only has been wiped out, but that was from a generation ago. And those guys are either dead or they're out of the job because, fucking look at Detroit. Anyway, so yes, thank you for the video, or the request. That was a good video. I hope we all learned something here. But yeah, I think especially now after we've purged the pure fuck the corporations, man, it's the union and our jobs. Who took our jobs? Those guys, I think they're gone, and now we have regular people our age, maybe a little bit younger, that are all kind of on the same board and want to actually make America great again. So anyway, best of luck to all of you. Toodles.